10:23 now. Welcome back. As the official start of summer just around the corner, it's happening next week, we are starting to think of great ways to beat the heat. And even though actually here in Connecticut, it has been nice this week, we understand that it is warm and there are some warning signs that you need to consider when the temperature does continue to rise. So we are chatting live with Dr. Imran Ali, talking about, of course, how to protect ourselves in this heat. But more importantly, people may not think how their medications may impact them in this
Absolutely.
heat.
So we want to really stress that this medications that you take, over-the-counter medications, even antihistamines, can really affect your body's ability to beat the heat on its own. So I tell people about mostly diuretics is a big deal. Diuretics are these water pills that you take when you have congestive heart failure or you have really swollen legs. Your doctor may prescribe this. You may urinate more. So that means you need to really watch your hydration because you're going to lose a lot of water just from the water pill itself, especially in the heat.
Very true. And let's talk about warning signs as far as the heat itself. You know, I'm sure our body has reactions to the heat.
Absolutely.
And there's a huge difference between heat stroke
and heat exhaustion.
Heat exhaustion. And people don't always know the differences here.
Right, so the CDC is now noticing an uptick in ER visits. And interestingly, we always thought it was, you know, the older adult population. And yes, they are high risk. But the CDC data now shows men between 18 and 64 are actually coming to the ED more often for heat exhaustion and some heat stroke as well. So heat exhaustion is the beginnings of when your body is not able to manage with the heat. You may notice profuse sweating, you may notice nausea, a little bit of dizziness. You actually may have cold extremities. People don't realize that because the blood flow is a little bit sluggish. Your heart is not working as efficiently. Heat stroke is a medical emergency. This is when your heart actually goes into a rapid heartbeat. You actually start getting confusion. You can start feeling so dizzy that you almost faint because your blood pressure is dropping. Now that is a medical emergency because it can lead to seizures actually. And I've actually treated patients with heat stroke seizures. So that is a medical emergency. You have to definitely seek care.
Let's talk about ways to beat the heat. Obviously, hydration is a huge one that you were just talking about, but other ways.
Absolutely. Know also when you're taking an antihistamine, it's going to reduce your ability to sweat. So, you know, a Benadryl or a Claritin, they actually affect the skin's ability to sweat and to release the heat.
And Claritin, a lot of people are taking that, not to interrupt you, but because of the allergies.
Absolutely. So in those cases, you may want to have a cold towel with you to help cool the skin. So you want to take that kind of precaution. You know, hydration is key. If you are of the higher age group or the really low age group, under 2 and under, you want to then definitely avoid, you know, the heat as much as you can. Heat indexes, when the heat index really rises. I think we also talked about the dew point. If you have COPD or other respiratory conditions, the dew point makes the air actually, you know, kind of thicker with that water vapor.
You can feel it.
So it becomes harder to actually breathe. In fact, you know, the concentration of oxygen changes a little bit. You may need to even dial up the oxygen a little bit. So if you have breathing problems and if you look at the forecast and the dew point is pretty high, try to stay indoors or have a dehumidifier in your home.
Yeah, good advice. And I think especially, you know, a lot of kids are getting out of school now for the summer. They will be outside a lot. Summer camps are happening. So it's probably really important, too, to check the labels, really read the drinks that maybe you're giving to the kids or that you're taking yourself. All these electrolyte drinks sometimes aren't the healthiest, but electrolytes, when you're dehydrated, sometimes just plain old water isn't enough.
No, plain old water is not enough. You need the electrolytes to replenish the body's sodium levels. Sodium levels, when they're very related to water. So if water goes down, sodium goes up. That affects the brain. That's why we see seizure activity, cardiac arrhythmias. So the electrolytes are really important. Another thing I want to mention is sun sensitivity. Certain antibiotics, tetracyclines specifically. You know, look at the label at the pharmacy. There'll be a little label where it will tell you that this may increase your sensitivity to the sun.
Yeah.
So then you have to really wear the sunscreen a little bit more diligently because you can get a really bad case of sun.
And we could go on and on about
We
this
really
because then I'm
can.
thinking about, certain facials that women or sometimes men get, and they're saying don't go in the sun if you're getting a
Absolutely.
chemical peel, this or
Retinol,
that.
for sure.
So we could go on and on, have a whole show about this, but we do have to wrap up, and we appreciate your time as always. I'm sure we will see you again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Of course, and still to come here on Connecticut's Morning Buzz, Florida bracing for more rainfall after days of intense downpour and flash flooding. We have the images coming in from Florida, plus gearing up for the Connecticut Bacon Festival. We have a food truck with us outside of the studio telling us all about it. Don't go anywhere.